Court Reporter with Stovalls and Associates.
Welcome back to Court Reporter with Stovalls and Associates. Tonight's guest is Nye County District Attorney Brian Kunze. Before we went to our first commercial break, we were talking about some of the budgeting and some of the savings that you've had thus far in your tenure as district attorney, and by taking on, I guess, a little bit more work as far as you said, like unions and some of the litigation costs. It's been a regular question that I've always housed from people is, well, why does the county spend so much money litigating cases or defending different departments? Why can't the district attorney's office just take it on?
Well, and we actually have.
Okay.
There's been a lot of litigation that we have taken on, but what people need to understand is with your typical type of litigation where even unlawful firings or somebody gets hurt, somebody's driving a car, a county car, and they cause an accident, we get sued. Those are all covered by insurance,
right.
and our insurance is basically done through what's called the insurance pool. It's a public agency pool, and in a lot of respects, I mean, we're self-insured through this pool.
Sure.
But we contract with the pool just like anybody does with their own car insurance. We don't get to pick our attorneys. They pick them, and part of just the natural result of that is that we basically have to pay the first $50,000 of every claim that happens, and that's just the way the contract works. But again, in a lot of respects, and we pay the first 50, but you get into some of these major litigation cases, attorney's fees are going to be much greater than 50.
Oh, absolutely.
But yes, we do have that unfortunate claim every time that that payment every time there's a claim. But it's just a reflection of the fact that it's a contract with our insurance company.
How much oversight does your office have in staying some of these lawsuits before they in fact go to litigation?
I think I have tried to be very active in a lot of those things. When I see something happening, and there have been a number of matters that we've been able to resolve. And I think in particular, I think when you get into the personnel area in particular, I unfortunately have had to make some hard decisions and basically, tell people, no, you're not firing that person. There's not a basis to fire this person, and if you do so, we're going to end up costing the county a lot of money because it's not going to be, considered a legitimate firing.
Sure.
And so I have been very involved in that process, and but I think it's also, it's also necessary. And I think partly the thing is that when you have outside attorneys who are being paid, a lot of times they will tell you what you want to hear, not necessarily what you need to hear. And I feel like having our own public attorneys doing it, I think we have a little bit greater ability of basically saying no, that's not right, because like it or not, the county commissioners can't fire me.
Right.
They can fire a private attorney they hire.
Yeah, right.
And so the whole thing is, I have to give them an honest opinion, and I must say that it really has been, that's probably the most enjoyable part of, the 2 years I've been district attorney of, how well it has worked with the various commissioners I've worked with, and, it makes my job so much easier when there's a mutual respect, and, they do respect the opinions they're getting, which I'm very proud of.
Which kind of leads to my next question is, as we see the changing of the guard with, let's talk about the county commissioners, I guess now. We've seen two very vocal people that have ousted incumbents, well, I should say one ousted incumbent, but the other that came on. The material makeup of the county commission is very different than what it was, say, 4 years ago. Do you find right now that the respect for the office remains the same? Are you finding it easier or harder to work with in the last couple of years? Have you seen the change? Or has it not had enough time to
it really hasn't had enough time. And it's like anything, and I've been through this before with, numerous county commissioners, and, I've done it. I've worked for 4 different attorney generals. Right. So you always have that kind of period of everybody's feeling each other out, but at this stage of the game, I really don't anticipate any issues. It's one of the things that more than anything else is really kind of just making sure that the commissioners understand that I'm not in charge of the policy decisions. And sometimes they kind of like, well, they're looking at me and I'm like, that's not my.
Right.
I will tell you whether or not you can do something. I'm not telling anybody they should do something.
Right.
And they sometimes like to say, well, the district attorney said, and it's like, well, wait a minute. And I think sometimes you'll hear me say that. I was like, oh, time out here. And so, part of this is, working with the new commissioners, it's, I will give you my legal opinion. I will tell you whether or not you can or can't do something. But generally, if I find that what you're wanting to do isn't legally possible, I take the next step and try to figure out a way that they can do it the way they want to and make that offer, to them. But like I said, I just sometimes, pull back when they expect me to say, well, this is what the district attorney said. And so that's, the part of my, working with new commissioners, just having them understand that that's not my role.
Do you ever find that internally within your office, especially when you start talking about the civil side, where there are complexities and big diversity in that catalog of work, that you and then your deputy district attorneys, do you guys ever have a difference as far as interpretation and kind of have to hash it out before you're presenting it to
absolutely.
the administrators?
Every day. And quite frankly, that's the part of the office that I absolutely love. I really have good attorneys. We respect everybody. And, ultimately at the end of the day, I have to make the final decision.
Sure.
But you're going to have those decisions, those disagreements, and that's part of the fun of it. People will state their position, they'll argue it, we go back and forth. And, by and large, generally, I mean, there really hasn't been anything that I can think of that we haven't really come to a group consensus saying, yeah, this is the way, we think we should do this. And like I said, that's part of having a good group of attorneys that,
a fairly experienced group of attorneys, really.
Yeah, relatively experienced, yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to take our second commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about a couple of the topical controversies we see today, okay?
Sounds good.
Right. We'll be right back after this break.
Court reporter with Stovall and Associates.